Hello, World Civ 106. This is week 15. And this is our last week until final week. And that's where we're at. And I'm fighting a cold, and I'm sure a lot of you are all fighting colds. We had light snow here in Portland last night, and it's just been cold all around. And so I've just been trying to fight the cold, and I've been working sometimes 10-hour days at the consignment shop. That's my other job. So I move furniture and decorate teacups, and then I teach y'all like a straight up G. All right. And I'm doing my laundry, so I'm hanging some of my shirts up here. All right. What was I gonna say? So, here we are. Now, I just want to mention something. There's a few civilizations that I missed out on, and the more that I learn, the more I realize there's parts of the world that I need to cover in civilizations. And as I've mentioned to you so many times, and I'll say it one more time before I finish this class, I find it unfortunate that I have to cover so much in so little time, and then I end up leaving out certain civilizations and cultures, one of which is Mesoamerica, and doing more on Native American history and in South America. I will have some lectures and some information on what would be history from this time period in Mexico, Central America, and South America. So I will give you a chance to do that for extra credit option. I wanted to have you exposed to that, and again, we're just missing out on a lot. But we have also covered a lot, and I hope that what this does is it really catapults you into wanting to learn more. So this week we're doing the Ottoman Empire, Safavids, and the Mughals. So this really, I just want to briefly say, I don't talk about it heavily, but I want you to kind of just realize, the Ottoman Empire was an empire rooted in Turkey. And Turkey is what used to be the Byzantium Empire. Okay? That was Eastern Roman Empire. So think about all the stuff that's happened. So we learned about Christianity, Constantine, creating of Constantinople in Eastern Rome, and then the Turkic invasions, which then make that whole area once a Greek-speaking nation that identified as Christian and Roman in legacy to being one of mainly Turkic and Muslim. And then there was, Armenian populations, all sorts of different populations, and Jews living within this, the heart of what is now Turkey, and then the empire going all the way up into Europe, into what is now the Balkans. And then the Safavids, basically once what is now Iran. The Mughals ruling what is India and also Pakistan. That's how Islam really took root in parts of India. And so these things, though, also if you take my later, like my 107 class, and you learn about things in the Balkans, unfortunately the wars that took place after the breakup of Yugoslavia, when there was a rape and massacre of Bosnian Muslims by Christians in that area, and some of the issues between the Muslims in Kosovo with Serbian Christians, and this kind of unfortunate set of events is rooted in leftover dialogue and discourse about leftovers from the Ottoman Empire. And the Safavids, being Shiite, what did we learn? That Shiites are about 15% of the entire world of Islam, but Iran is one of the largest countries with a Shiite majority, led by a Shiite government. Now, I want you to keep in mind that Saudi Arabia is the main competitor to Iran now, which would have been somewhat incorporated to a degree into more of the Ottoman sphere. But Saudi Arabia has its own history. Keep in mind that Arabia, being called Saudi Arabia, means it's named after the Saudi family. So imagine if Trump set up a dynasty and America was called Trumpian America, or if Obama did and it was called Obamian America. And when we went internationally, we traveled, we called ourselves Obamians or Trumpians. That's and even many Muslims comment that this is a very strange kind of way to have people identified with. You don't see that in other Muslim majority countries. Anyway, that's just a side note. But so you take Saudi Arabia and Iran are terribly at odds. Iraq has always been ruled by Sunnis, but the majority have been Shiites. And the epicenters of Shiite Islam has been in Iraq. The one person that changed the ruling of Sunnis over the majority of Shiites is George Bush. And so what he did is he helped change the power imbalance that's been in place for centuries. And it created a lot of violent reactions and results in which ISIS was the Sunni kind of blowback of feeling like they were oppressed by the Shiite power that was new and unleashing from Iraq. Okay? And we see in Lebanon the tensions there. We have Hezbollah is backed by Iran, but the country is led by Sunnis, which are backed by Saudi Arabia. So Lebanon is in a very precarious situation as well. You're not going to memorize all this, but I just kind of want to point out some of the things you've been learning, how, if you do take interest, can help you kind of start piecing elements together here, and what you're seeing. And keep in mind that Saudi Arabia's branch of Islam, Wahhabism, was basically created to be against Shiites and Sufis. Abdul Wahhab in the 18th century did not want to see what he called bid'ah, innovations in Islam. And he saw everything that was bid'ah was like, ugh, okay? It's bad, okay? And so having shrines to Sufi leaders, like, and we're learning about Rumi in this, and so I want to just kind of point this out. They very much wanted to destroy. Remember iconoclasm, iconoclast that we learned about in Christianity section. So he was about destroying shrines or any kind of things that he saw as outside elements brought into Islam. And Shiites were seen as also a terrible innovation that was wrong. And so you can then see how Saudi Arabia and Iran really don't get along, and why, in terms of the religious debates that take place. But you can't always reduce it just to religion in terms of these geopolitical conflicts as well. And I could explain that or try to go into that, but that's not really for this class. What I just wanted you to see is how all of this is unfolded. And then just quickly go to India and say, now that Hindus have power, okay, Pakistan split away. It was a part of India with the Muslim majority. And right now, Modi's government in India is ultra-nationalist, ultra-pro-Hindu. And many Muslims in India are getting terrorized, feeling by kind of Hindu militants. And of course, that's one side of the story, and I'm sure that if I had some Hindu friends here from India, that there would be a counterpart of that element to that story. But again, this is all rooted in many people's minds, thinking back to these histories that are starting here within the context of what we're talking about. But I end with us having a discussion of Rumi, because I thought that was a more pleasant and positive way to end this on this poet that's much celebrated throughout the world, even the United States, as I point out. Now, the British sometimes have a way of making things seem very like you want to go to sleep. I know, like that's like the podcast is not like super exciting, but if you really think about it in terms of content and interest, and if you just pay attention and you get into the idea of what you're learning, it'll make it much more enjoyable. Okay. I know in America we need everything to have like explosions and lights and kind of like this, like the History Channel, like Rumi, you know, like, but that's not how the British do it. Okay, so last thing to say, yes, put dates on papers. Zeros for papers without dates. This is okay. Shouldn't have to say it again, but it's happening again. And if you need to turn in late work, you have to communicate with me now, because I'm behind. Now we're at the end, and so communicate with me, and I'll do my best. I'm going to be working for two days straight at 10-hour days, and then I'll be having off most of the week to get so you can get a hold of me then. So, and you can text me if you need any immediate things resolved. Okay, have a great week, and we shall be in touch.